Hey, I'm coming to you from a different park this morning. It's day 49. And one of the other benefits of really rising and shining, I mean, I was always an early riser, but I didn't get going early. Like, that's part of this whole, like, not sitting in my chair too long. Because I can get real comfortable and then not, and then time gets away from me, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't have a chance to get to that today. Well, is that true? Is that true, Felicia? Or did you just not manage your time well, or your energy, and you let the time slip away? It's cold again. It's cold again. But I'm gonna, oh, whoops, I should have. All right, let me show you this new park. You hear a little bit of traffic noise, but look how pretty. This is a new park in our town, or in a nearby other little town. And it's really beautiful. So I thought, well, while I'm out running errands, because that's what I can do when I'm up early and out the door, check things off my to-do list early. I can even stop by at new parks. So who knows where this will lead. I've been staying really close to home. There is more traffic in this area, so you'll hear some traffic noise. But anyway, on with today's. I'm delaying because I was going to title this "Delayed Obedience is Disobedience." But I thought, oh, people are going to scroll on by that one. That doesn't sound like any fun to read. Not that the title that I have is any less fun, any more fun, but maybe it's less threatening. I don't know. So are you somebody who learns a lot? You're an avid reader, maybe you love self-development, you read or listen to a lot of that stuff, and you can convince yourself, or maybe you're going to church and you're convincing yourself that you're like, oh yeah, every time I'm there, I love what they're saying, I'm listening. But then are you going out and doing it? I know. This is where I lived for a long time. Well, I'm listening to all the things. And maybe once in a while I kind of do some of the stuff, or, but I convinced myself that listening was doing. No, it's not the same at all. But it's nice to sort of convince ourselves that it is. And there are sometimes consequences for that. Not only just the self-delusion, but maybe even onto other people and other relationships. So what does this have to do with the Bible and what I'm reading? So I'm in 1 Samuel, and where we just learned that Eli's sons, these are the priests that are watching the tabernacle, like the house of God. This is before we have the Holy Spirit, before Jesus comes. This is in Old Testament days, and they had to build a literal house for God to live in, so he could live with them. And they carried this around, the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. And so this was a big responsibility that these Levites and these priests had. And Eli, it seems like, took his own job seriously, but his sons didn't. And he sort of talked to them about their behavior. He saw it, he reprimanded it, but he didn't do anything about it. And in this particular passage that I read this morning, Samuel is coming of age. And the Lord has already spoken to Eli and kind of told him what's coming down the pike. And Samuel, audibly hears something during the night, and he thinks it's Eli calling him. So he goes and says, "Did you call me?" And Eli says, no, go back to bed. It happens again. Finally, on the third time, Eli wakes up enough literally to say, "Oh my goodness, the Lord is calling you. This is what's happening. So go back to bed. When you hear it again, say, 'Lord, your servant is listening.'" And boy, that struck me, because obviously, if Eli knew what to do, this had happened to him before too. And he knew the right procedure, knew the right thing to say. So you can imagine this, you know where I'm going with this probably. Like, he had been told by the Lord directly, "Your sons are out of line. They are misrepresenting me. You are misrepresenting me by not disciplining them, not making them have consequences, not taking them out of that position. And you are my direct representatives. And if I can't trust you, then the people can't trust me." You know, it's like we got the cycle backwards here. And I cannot allow this to happen. So if you continue to put your sons above me, then we got problems. And so when Samuel says, "Lord, your servant is listening," the Lord proceeds to tell him that Eli will die, so will his sons, and trouble is coming. Trouble's coming. And so Eli later on, he's anxious to hear. And you can bet and his anxiousness, that he knows. That, can you feel it? Like when you're reading it, and when I was reading it, I was like, oh, he knows he's in trouble. Because he even threatens Samuel. He said, "If you don't tell me, I will hurt you. You need to tell me every single thing that God told you." And so Samuel tells him, even though he's like, he probably doesn't want to. He's a young man or a young boy at this time, or a boy. And, this guy has raised him and been like a father. Like, he doesn't want to tell him, "Dude, you're done." And so, and there's no fanfare about it. Like, he tells him, and then Eli says, "Okay, all right. Well, if that's the Lord's will, then all right. I will," because he knows, you can just read all of this in between the lines and under the subtext of all that had happened before. Like, I gave you warnings, I gave you chances, dude, you're done. Like, I can't allow it. Because, and there were probably conversations where Eli said, I'm listening. I hear you, Lord. I know. Yeah, my sons are terrible. I know I've got to do something about it." And then he did. And then he went and "Hey boys, stop it. We're going to get in trouble. You're going to get in trouble." Boy, us parents out there know this. Like, we don't want to, disciplining our kids is not fun. Well, maybe for some it is, but it's not fun. It was not fun for me. It still isn't. And I realize now, being in a healthier relationship with life and how things work, I realize now that I'm more worried about my own comfort than my kids' character and their comfort, or discomfort. And that is not a good place to parent from. It's not effective. When we start to fragilize our kids, when we start to fragilize their futures, make ourselves too responsible, and the discomfort of the moment be more powerful than the outcome that if we don't do the disciplining, very short-sighted in the moment, and we can justify it to ourselves. So it's like, "Oh, but I love them and I want to see the best in them, and we've got time here. We can just listen. Maybe, okay, I'll give you a warning." And then the warnings run out, and then the kid's like, "Okay, she's totally not serious." Like, Oh my goodness. And even with myself, have you done this with yourself? Like, I'm sure Eli was doing this with his sons and with himself. Like, okay, probably gearing up. I know I got to be harsh with them. I know I've got to follow through. I'll do it next time. I totally will, God. I know I didn't follow through this time. And telling himself and God, like, I'll get it right next time. I'll do it. I'll do it next time. I'm listening, but just not doing. Oh my goodness. So, this was very convicting to me as the squishy, non-disciplinarian person. Not just parent, but person. I'm too soft with myself. I'm too soft with, I get, not anymore. Like, you're seeing the new, version of Felicia that's rising up above. She's outsmarting her own personality, hopefully, with God's help and grace and mercy. It's not me. Because Lord knows, if it was just up to me, I'd still be sitting in that chair, because it's awfully comfortable there. It's like a lot more fun to just listen. Actually, that's not true. I thought it was. I was missing out on this adventure. So, are you just listening? You having words whispered in your ear, in your heart? Is there trouble in your marriage, in your parenting, in your relationship with life and with the lives of other people? That's showing up with maybe some bad habits, hiding in the listening, self-deceiving, and too afraid. Well, if I do this, then this is where my brain goes. I'm like a chess player. I'm like, well, if I do that, then this and this is going to happen, and this is going to be the outcome. Like I'm a fortune teller. Like I know, and therefore I justify not doing. Well, that's just too, I can't handle it if that's part of the fallout of this. I do that with the disciplinarian. Oh, well, if I do this and I'm this type of parent and I follow through on this, I'm going to raise the kid that hates their mom and, no. There are plenty of kids out there that don't like their squishy moms. My mom was too soft. She didn't, they'll blame me for, like, as parents, we get blamed anyway. So, do the right thing. And do the right thing with yourself. Parent yourself well. Have a healthy relationship with life. Rise up. Rise and shine. All right, guys, I gotta go. I got lots to do today. And I'm going to try to get home and get my writing done early before I got to skedaddle for my appointments and closings today. Bye.